Generating traffic and sales can be a challenge for online merchants. But selling on the Walmart Marketplace puts your products in front of millions of customers who shop on Walmart.com. And right now, sellers who join Walmart Marketplace can save up to 50% on referral and fulfillment fees for the first 90 days. So get started today. Head over to marketplace.walmart.com/savings. That's marketplace.walmart.com/savings.
Welcome to E-Commerce Conversations, a podcast by Practical E-Commerce.
What is going on, Internet? Eric Van Holtz back again with another e-commerce conversation. I hope all is going well on the other side of the Internet. On the other side of the table and screen is absolutely no one. We got a little bit of a special episode here. I'm going to be talking about bootstrapping, talking about how you guys can build a business that doesn't really depend on other people. So let's get on into it. No point delaying the inevitable. I'll try to keep the energy high as the token spokesman for this. I'll ask myself some great questions and I'll answer them greatly. And maybe you guys might learn a lesson or two. So for those who don't know, I am a big proponent of bootstrapping. If you've never heard of the term bootstrapping before, well, the basic premise is that you build a business by your own means without any kind of investors. Some will include like bank loans in as still being bootstrapped. Me personally, I kind of view the pure essential bootstrapping as it's your own money. There's no loans. There's no outside investors. You can have a founding party where, like the founding party is, again, bringing their money. But to me, that's still kind of like internal. And the way I look at bootstrapping is almost as if you're in total control of everything. There's no one else whose interests are in the business except for the management team. So they can focus primarily on directing all their efforts to the customers. And we'll be celebrating 10 years of Beardbrand in February of next year. And it's a question that's come up a lot. I get emailed all the time by investors, hey, we want to invest in Beardbrand. Everything from just taking a minority to taking majority to complete buyouts. And we've always turned them down for the past 10 years. And it's not to say we'll turn them down in the future. I haven't completely shut that door, but I just really love bootstrapping. What I love about it is just I get to focus on the customers directly. I get to focus on, how to make their lives better, how to bring them value, how to make products for them, how to grow at a pace that is sustainable and doesn't burn out the team, something that still challenges us, but it doesn't, burn the candle at both ends. How do I enjoy the journey? And all those things are possible with bootstrapping. The hard part with bootstrapping is typically you're not going to have the same kind of growth that you will see from an outside investment type of situation. Because imagine, when I started bootstrapping, I think we had, like $100 in the bank account compared to $1 million. Imagine all the ads that I can buy to bring awareness to the company and the brand, to build products, to launch, everything like that. Capital, money is a great lubrication towards growth, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the right growth. So bootstrapping for me is great in that regards. In the early days, I also believe that as much time as possible needs to be spent talking about your product in front of the intended audience. So if you're a small company with a founding team or you're a solo founder and you're spending your time calling up investors, VCs, angel investors, trying to get money, trying to raise money, the pitch is completely different. Your brain is in a completely different mode when you're thinking about how do I raise money and how do I talk to investors and how do I convince them this business is the right idea versus talking to your customers and like, how do I sell my product? How do I, find the value? How do I reach the right people? So every minute you're spent, trying to raise money is a minute that you could have been spending growing your business and talking to your customers and getting out there. So in the early days, when we had enough capital coming in to essentially pay for, future orders and the likes, we always asked ourselves that question is like, do I want to spend my time talking to investors or do I want to spend my time talking to customers? And that reminder to me always helped me. It's like, yes, I could get a lot of capital, but there's an opportunity cost in that. And maybe I never do raise money. Maybe the investors don't understand the vision. They don't see where we're going. They're kind of taken aback by the strategy, or they don't like me. Like, how many hours do I need to spend to raise a certain amount of money? And it's nothing I've done before in the past. Like if I had connections or if I had relationships to people with money, then yeah, maybe it makes sense to go raise money and go that route. But I personally had not do that. So subsequently, as much time as possible was spent on our customers. And you learn so much in those early days when you're a solopreneur or you are working with a small team and you're working directly with those customers. It's just amazing. They tell you, oh, hey, could you do this? Oh, hey, could you do that? And then all of a sudden you get your product roadmap with crystal clarity of exactly what people are dealing with, the problems they have, the things they wish was different with your product. Maybe your product is performing exactly as it is and it performs well, but they just need more. And it's not doing everything it can. So you get this crystal clear roadmap that happens with bootstrapping. Now, e-commerce is one of the greatest industries because it's like the easiest to bootstrap. And I mean, I can't imagine me in 2012 when I started the business trying to start a restaurant for $30. It's just not possible. You need $250,000 to get the lease and to build out the restaurant, build the menus, all the signage, hire the wait staff, all that. E-commerce, you can do it by yourself with, a minimal investment into a shopping platform. Heck, if you're real adventurous, you could even build your own open source platform like Magento. I think there's even some that you can get started for free. So there's no real monetary excuse why you can't start bootstrapping. Now, the hard part is, you can't live off of a business that's doing a couple $1,000s a month. You need to have a business that, in my opinion, at least does something like $10K a month in revenue. Otherwise, it's just going to be like a side project. And side projects are fine. And I've got no ill will. And certainly if you want to have a side project that gives you a little bit of, like a new car money or dinner out with your loved one's money, that's cool as well. I would certainly recommend that if you're doing a side hustle, that too is bootstrap, because you really get to dictate how much energy and investment that you put into the brand. And if someone else, gives you money with the expectation of growing that and getting a return, then I think you're doing them a disservice by not putting everything you can into the business. So side hustles, certainly bootstrap. And then sometimes side hustles become the full-time thing. So bootstrapping is really hard. I think it's liberating. It gives you more freedom than you could ever imagine. It allows you to, build a connection with your company that I think you might end up losing with investors, because if you start doing things for the investors, the business becomes a different vision than what you wanted. And some people can adapt to that vision and buy into it, but some people will never be able to do that. And their vision is their vision. And, all of a sudden this thing you've created has been taken over by the investors. You no longer own it, and you have drama, and you've gone down to essentially losing that freedom. You're not working for yourself anymore. You're not working for your customers. You're working for the quote unquote man. You're working for your investors and their interests. And then you have a job, and then you might as well just be getting paid more with less stress and burden, working at some big company that will pay you well and, kind of give you all the resources that you need. So entrepreneurship is a tough road. And I've talked to a lot of people who, didn't have the option to bootstrap, and they were forced to kind of go down that investment route, and, they didn't love it. And then there's certainly people who had a choice between bootstrapped and investing and chose the investment route, and they love it. It was a great experience, because I think when you're in that position, you're able to choose your partners and make sure that your partners are aligned, make sure the interests are aligned, make sure there's synergy in the investment where, the investor plus the entrepreneur, the two of us work better together than we would work individually. So that's where synergies come in. And that's what you need to be shooting for if you're raising money. But when you need money, you're not always at that luxury, and you're doing everything you can to keep the business going. So you end up with essentially bad partners, bad investors. Not to say they're bad investors, but just bad partnerships, bad visions, bad alignment is probably the term I'm going for. So with bootstrapping, in the early days, really what you need to think about is, how do you put food on your table? How do you put a roof over your head? I think that the most common ways, there's going to be three of them. One, you're really successful, you're financially independent, and you've got a load of cash in the bank. I think the reality is, for most individuals, that is not the case. And I would almost argue that, bootstrapping, like if you got $1 million in the bank or a couple $1 million in the bank, you're starting a new business, yeah, that is bootstrapping, but not really. It's more of an investment for you into a new project. I think, in my opinion, bootstrapping is just going to be a little more pure where you don't have the resources and you're hustling and you're figuring out everything you can. In my situation, when I started Beardbrand, I did not have a bunch of money. I think we had probably like $10,000 of savings between my wife and I that were for the rainy day fund. If anything happened, if we lost our job. I was like a freelance graphic designer, kind of marketing person, doing some odd jobs here and there. And my wife had a stable job. So she had the health insurance. And, the reality was the money that I was earning through my freelance work was nice enough to kind of, allow us not to starve and whatnot. But ultimately, if it came down to it, we were able to live our life in a way of a single income. So we lived in a very modest house in Spokane. We would buy our groceries. My car was, paid off. We didn't have, I think at the time, we might have still been paying some of our student loans and some miscellaneous debt we had picked up, but we were very keen on minimizing our personal liabilities as much as possible. So if you want to bootstrap, the same processes that you're going to have in the business, you need to have in your personal life. So if you're one of those people who, goes from lease to lease on your car, if you, buy the biggest house that you can buy, if you live paycheck to paycheck, the reality is you're probably not going to be successful bootstrapping. So before you can even think about bootstrapping, you need to think about, how do I control my finances? How do I get to the situation where I can drop my income in half and still live without, not just live, but live without stress, where you don't have to sell your house, or you don't have to sell your cars, or you don't have to make dramatic changes to your lifestyle. Those kind of mindsets that you start to develop that way, the very frugal mindset of finance management. I would say I'm probably one of the most conservative cash management people that you can imagine, because I can always imagine, like, what happens if my warehouse catches on fire and I'm out of products? What happens there? Like, how am I going to stay in business? What happens if, God forbid, someone gets injured using our products? They drop the bottle and step on the glass or something like that. What happens then? What are all these things that could really hinder the business? Like the paranoid entrepreneur in me thinks about those kind of negativities and thinks about, the worst case scenario. And I think about those things on like the personal level as well. It's like, what happens if my wife lost her job? What happens if I lose my job? It's a very stoic strategy to like always think about the bad things, not because they're going to happen or not because you wish them to happen, but because you want to have a plan ready to go in the event that something like that does happen. So I've always been pretty good about doing that. And I've always kind of understand the concept that you want to have more money coming in than going out, and you want to pay yourself first. So you want to make sure you're paying your savings and kind of rewarding the future self. So when you go down the strategy of bootstrapping, you got to have a way to have your personal life going. So I think for most people, the option is, one, you've got a breadwinner like my wife, or the other option is it starts off as a side hustle. And this is a great way to do it if you are young or unchained. I think if you don't have any kids, maybe you're single, you have that free time to be able to put your 9 to 5 in. And then, from 5 to 8 o'clock, you work on your side project. Because the reality is, if you're efficient with your time and what you're doing, it doesn't take a lot of time to start getting traction in your business. It takes probably about 10 minutes to 20 minutes to record a video talking about your product and uploading it to TikTok or Reddit or trying to get the word out there. And those are the things that you need to be doing in the early days of bootstrapping is, how do I get my message in front of my audience as much as possible? And when you're bootstrapping, you have to always remember, I have more time than money in the early days. So you need to be doing those things that take time, because you can't be doing those things that take money. So when you think about that, what are the things you do? So one, SEO. SEO is something that a lot of brands with money completely neglect because they have money to buy ads in Facebook. So that's your opportunity, is in your space. The big players, they're not focusing on SEO. They're not link building. They're not writing beautiful articles. They're not, worried about what their H1 tags are, their H2 tags. They're not worried about navigation. They may be worried about it, but it's second fiddle because they're not seeing results from that immediately. And big brands, and especially investor-driven brands, are always focused about what's going on this month, what's going on this quarter. And you as a bootstrap organization have the ability and the privilege of saying, hey, what's going to happen in 5 years from now? Like, I love my business. I love what I'm doing. I love the products we're selling. I'm going to be doing this for 5 years. What can I do now that will help me 5 years from now? So your SEO is going to be a great investment. Blogging, guest writing, reaching out to influencers, selling the brand, selling the vision to influential people. Like, influencers love working directly with founders. They love working directly with the people who are passionate about the products. Would they rather talk with you, the person who made the product, made it all happen, or would they rather talk with some intern who's been working there for 1 month and doesn't really know what's going on and is just trying to hit a quota and has an automated script on how they message you? Like, you have this layer of authenticity that these big brands and these VC-backed companies don't have. Like, these are your advantages in the business. And I think that's the other thing that a lot of people forget about or discount in bootstrapping is, like, you have so many advantages over a company with money. Like, you are able to do things that they just can't do, or your incentives are aligned with doing things that they can't or shouldn't do. And do them. Like, do the hard things, like write a personal note in the orders, like call up customers and thank them for it and tell them how much it means to you. Write an email after they buy something and personally tell them, this means the world to me. Big companies will never do that. And when you do that, you're building the loyalty, and your ability to market becomes really cheap, because you know how much you pay for word of mouth marketing? Well, you know the answer. You pay nothing. And you know what the return on ad spend when you're paying nothing to acquire customers is pretty dang good. And that's what you need to be doing, the hard things that separate your company in the space. You have a remarkable product. You have a remarkable experience. You're doing things that they're just not used to getting. And that is going to help you grow and propel. So bootstrapping is those hard things. We, in the early days at Beardbrand, we spent a lot of time on Reddit, just simply providing advice to other people on the forum in our space, how to grow a beard, how to trim it. When you're really active in something that you care about, then people will want to support you. They'll want to support your brand, and they'll ask about what you're doing. And if you do it active enough, you don't even have to be that pushy. Like, eventually people know, and in Reddit, they eventually kind of like tagged me as like a vendor. So people would learn that I'm a vendor and kind of supporting people through our products as well as through information. In addition to that, we built our YouTube channel. Again, more time than money. So I can record a video, I can put it up on YouTube, I can answer those comments, I can do all those things that people with no time, they can't do. And then the people with money, they're not able to get the same results because they're outsourcing it to, frankly, individuals who don't care as much as they care about the company. So bootstrapping is incredibly powerful. And then what's amazing is, like, 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road, we've got a great website ranking. Now, anytime we roll out a product, it automatically has that authority built into it that we've done to build out that website. We have over 1,000 articles on our blog. We've written a tremendous amount of content for our audience. And, some of those things do help drive awareness and growth and get people into our funnel, get people into email. Oh, man, email, man. That's another one. It's just like, email is such a powerful tool that gets neglected. And SMS is kind of the same way. It's like new and emerging, and it's a great way to build flows and to build processes. All these things are things that you can do as an entrepreneur and you can learn. They don't take a college degree. There is not a barrier to learning the knowledge. There's plenty of videos out on YouTube. I know Klaviyo has plenty of blog articles that have kind of helped. There's, even like the SEO networks, they tell you how to blog, how to drive awareness. And then there's low price apps that you can add to your website to be able to collect email addresses. We use a quiz where, in my opinion, I'm a big fan of a quiz over a pop-up, because I think about how can I bring value to my customers. And one way you can bring value is by discounting your product, but then you're not giving value to yourself. You're discounting something that you believe in. The other way is, you just do a pop-up and you ask for their email, which there's no value to the audience or the customer in that, other than maybe some good emails that you have developed, but they don't know that. So there's a lot of risk in that. So in my opinion, I kind of thought about, like, how can we bring value to the customer to be able to collect their email address, and doing a quiz kind of based on their personality and gamifying the experience, I thought was a fun way of doing it. So they can learn a little bit about themselves. They can find out what kind of beardsman they are, or, what kind of fragrance they would be, and, make it a little fun. And then they're going to be more likely to want to share their email with a brand who has given value first. I'm kind of digressing from bootstrapping into like best marketing practices, but I'm a big believer in, as much as possible, give as much value upfront that you can, and then kind of believing in karma, or believing in the idea that good things will come back. So if you provide great information that's unbiased, that's fair, that's reasonable, that, doesn't over promote yourself, but also, addresses any kind of downsides as well, I think people start to build trust. And then when they build trust with you, once you have that trust, you're able to get a sale, right? Which is one of the things that we're trying to do. So I think those are the ways that you kind of need to think about how you interact with your customers. It's not like, how do I get more sales? How do I get people to buy from me? If that's your thought process, is like, how do I sell more products? How do people buy from me? What kind of things can I do to get them to, spend more money? Those are all me-centric things. Those are all things that are in it for me as the brand or the brand owner. You need to think about, how can I bring more value to the customers? How can I make their life better? How can I simplify the experience? How can I, ease any kind of concerns they have about buying from me? How can I make sure that, they're going to be happy? Because that's ultimately what it is. It's like, Beardbrand exists to make the world a better place. It doesn't exist to make the world a worse place. So how do we make sure that we're doing that? And we do it through great products, but people worked hard for their money. And, if they spend $60 with your company, that's an hour of their time. And if they buy that thing for $60, that means they invested 1 hour of their life for something that you made. And if your product doesn't enhance their life more than the hour it took to earn that money, then you're essentially, a net negative on society. So, at the worst case scenario, we can give the people their money back so they didn't lose that hour of their life. And, the best case scenario, we give them a product that, helps level them up. And that hour of their time was, they've been able to figure out how to essentially scale up their life by investing in our products. And that can just be something as arbitrary as making them happy, giving them confidence at work, which helps them earn more money, helps to inspire them to learn new things. Like, there's a lot of different ways that your company can bring value through its products. And that's what, you should be thinking about, is your mission, your brand, why you exist as an organization, and how you're going to make the world a better place. Because the world already has enough, junk, and enough people who are just trying to sell, or, enough people who are working in jobs that they only work there because it's good pay for them, but they don't really care about what they're doing. The world's got enough of that. We don't need more of that. We need more of brands and companies that care about what they're doing and care about the customers they're serving. So bootstrapping, bootstrapping is beautiful because my investor isn't controlling that. I always get to focus on, how do I bring my value? How do I focus on my mission? How do we make men awesome? And, we can kind of go down a rabbit hole that may not make sense to an investor, but makes sense to our customers and makes sense to us as a brand, and brings value to us as partners and owners in the company to be able to do something that we enjoy for a long period of time. Because I think the biggest life hack in entrepreneurship that nobody talks about, that absolutely nobody talks about. Everybody talks about, growing a unicorn and scaling and having that $1 billion exit, or 8-figure exit, or 9-figure exit, or even 7-figure exit. Everyone's talking about that. But I'm telling you, the real secret is what if you build a brand and a business that you don't want to exit? Imagine having a brand that you just absolutely love going to work for every single day. And not only that, not only do you love going to work every day, but you get paid a ton of money to do it. That, my friends, is the secret to entrepreneurship. That, my friends, is the goal that I believe in strongly. I think that's the goal that society doesn't want you to hear, because there are other interests to your company's growing. Investors can't invest in companies that are bootstrapped because they're not raising money. So they have an interest to pitch this dream of you growing a business and you having this big exit. Then all of a sudden you have this big exit and he didn't quite make it to the Forbes cover magazine and nobody gives a damn. 3 months down the road, You're twiddling your thumbs, wishing you had work to do that meant something. And you wish you still had your business because you are making your customers' lives better. And that, my friends, is bootstrapping. It's a wonderful thing. It's really hard. The other blessing that I think that nobody talks about is the scarcity. It is such a gift. And it's a gift that these VC-backed companies, they don't understand. And it's the very reason they end up out of business. When you're bootstrapped, you absolutely have to make sure that the money you spend is going to drive the growth of the business, that is going to help the business be sustainable and profitable. If you spend $1 and you lose that $1, you know that you're eventually going to go out of business if you repeat that. So you have to cut all the fat constantly. Cut the fat, cut the fat, cut the fat. And you know what that does for your business? Ooh, it makes your business healthy, strong, lean. It's just like scarcity to me is a lot like lifting weights. It's really hard. It's really hard to lift weights and to lift heavier and heavier weights, to deal with like less and less money, slimmer and slimmer margins. But you know what that does for your business? You know what the weightlifter looks like? He's muscular, he's jacked, he's not getting sick, he's not breaking bones, he or she is staying fit. They're ready for adversity. Whereas, the gluttonous person who has all the food, who has all the transportation, that doesn't have to work hard, the minute they hit adversity, they're in the hospital with a heart attack. All right? And bootstrap companies are able to withstand the storm. They're able to scale back. They're able to be lean. They know what that's like. And, you have this mentality, and I think you keep that mentality with you as you grow in your business. I mean, I still have that mentality 10 years into building Beardbrand. And I think about how, yes, we didn't grow as much as I wanted to grow. And no, the company's not as big as the company is. But yes, I get to spend time with my kids and my wife, and I have a great relationship with my business partners. And I love my customers, and I love the products we make and sell. And I stand behind every single product that we have. And, I got a roof over my head and food on my table, and I can do the things that I enjoy in life. I don't know, man. I feel like I got it figured out. It's still hard. I still have adversity. It's never easy. But man, I just feel like this is the way. This is the way. Shameless plug. You guys know I got Beardbrand. I got Area 627. We worked with other bootstrap people. Or, follow me on Twitter. I love to talk about bootstrap life. I do think it's a superior way of building a business. Not that you should really compare one business to the other. That, all businesses, I guess, are superior. You just got to do it your own way. And bootstrapping is the way that I really enjoyed it. So I hope you guys enjoyed my little rant, my interview of myself and my thoughts and my answers to those thoughts in my head. It's been a lot of fun. I'm very passionate about bootstrapping. If you want to ask any questions about it, hit me up on Twitter over at Banholtz, my last name. Give this podcast some love. Give it some reviews or some stars or whatever you got to do. Let's get the word out there. I think we can help a lot of entrepreneurs. As always, thanks for listening. Cheers, and keep on growing.